Howdy, folks. This is Tony here, bringing you an update on the Michigan presidential primary, where on the Republican side, Donald Trump won with 68% of the vote total, and on the Democrat side, Joe Biden won with 81% of the vote total. Now, as a conservative, I was initially very happy when I saw these numbers. Look at this. You had Republicans that had over a million votes, 1.1 million votes here, whereas Democrats had only 762,000 plus votes in the election. That's a good sign, seemingly, going into November. But then I did a little bit of math and did a little bit of research, and now alarm bells are ringing. And I would urge any conservative to have an extreme sense of caution going into this election, especially in these Midwestern swing states. Now, the reason why is one person and one person alone, Nikki Haley. Let's actually watch a few clips about the effect that Nikki Haley staying in this race is having on the Republican primary, and why I think even though she has no shot at the presidency, she has a very good shot at costing Trump the presidency. Let's look at a few clips here. We're not going to watch the whole clip, just part of it, obviously because of copyright reasons, so here we go.
As we have this conversation, I wonder, Governor, when you look at the landscape, do you think that it is time for Nikki Haley to drop out of the race, and do Democrats want the general election to begin in earnest?
Well, I don't know why Democrats would want her out of the race. She's one of our better surrogates. I mean, she's defining the opposition to Trump incredibly effectively. I mean, she's making points I'm applauding every single day about.
So what we see here is Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, is happy Nikki is still in the race because she is providing extra opposition to Trump. And that's what we need to understand. Nikki Haley's effect is not to win, her effect is to undermine Trump. Even though the underlying philosophy of the Democratic Party is secular humanism, is communism, all of these despicable philosophies, the fact of the matter is they stick together no matter how much theater they give you of not sticking together. Remember when you thought that AOC and the squad were going to challenge Pelosi for the speaker's seat in 2020, and what did they do? They fell in line right behind her. And the same thing is going to happen in these Rust Belt states with these Gaza protesters, with these Palestine protesters. They're not going to vote for Trump under any circumstance. They are still going to just pull the lever for Joe Biden. So whereas this 756,000 is closer to Trump's ceiling, I think this 617,000 is closer to Biden's floor, because all of these voters are just going to coalesce back behind Biden because Democrats have a very strong loyalty. They have a vote blue no matter who mentality. That is why they are able to successfully create one-party states like California and Illinois, and then subsequently drive them into the ground. But the fact of the matter is, Republicans don't have nearly as much unity as Democrats do, no matter what the quality of the candidate is, and these relative percentages here bear that fact out. So Newsom actually does have a point, and Republicans do have cause to be concerned. But let's drive that concern home even further. Look at this.
That Robert Schwartz with the Primary Pivot Super PAC is targeting. He's a Democrat, urging support for Nikki Haley in the Republican primary.
They're just trying to make a point on the Democratic side, but there's an actual race on the Republican side. So if you want to use your vote strategically, you have to vote on the Republican side.
Schwartz is...
Okay, so you saw what that guy just said. You have Democrats that are infiltrating these open Republican primaries and registering as Republicans to vote for Nikki Haley simply to undermine Trump. What this means is that come election day, we cannot count on all of these voters to just say, okay, our candidate and Nikki Haley did not win. We're just going to get in line behind Trump because he's still our Republican. If these guys are all Democrats in disguise, then you need to subtract them from this Republican column and go add them down here to this Democrat column. When you do that, Trump is screwed. Let's actually look at that. I actually took the liberty of running those numbers over here. As you can see, I have the Republican totals over here. I have the Democrat totals over here. And then I ran some scenarios using some formulas here. So in the worst case scenario, let's say 100% of those Haley voters were Democrats. And so when the general comes around, they're going to pivot to Joe Biden. Trump gets stomped. He loses by almost 250,000 votes. That sucks. But then if we go over here to best case scenario, where all of the Haley voters just decide to stay home, Trump squeaks by almost 50,000 votes. So do you see why I'm a bit concerned here? But then let's look at the middle scenarios. If half of the Haley supporters are Democrats in disguise and the other half are people who just want to see change in the Republican Party, or they, instead of change, they want to see the Republican Party go back to what it was in 2004, Trump squeaks by nearly 50,000 votes. But then if we go to scenario C, another middle scenario where 3/4 of those Haley voters are Democrat infiltrators who are going to just pivot to Joe Biden, only 1/4 are Republicans who are going to get behind Trump, then again, we see Joe Biden run away with it. So in half of possible scenarios, Biden stomps Trump in this state. In the other half of possible scenarios, so in the best case scenario, Trump squeaks by. In the worst case scenario, Biden stomps. That is before we factor in mail-in voting and any kind of other irregularities and ballot stuffing and things that obviously have been documented but did not get looked at in court. So before we get into any electoral shenanigans, when you just look at the baseline scenario, Trump has an uphill fight in this state, and it's because of what's going on with Nikki Haley. But we need to understand something. Nikki Haley is not the cause of this. She is merely exposing it. If Nikki Haley were not on the ballot and we had just seen Trump and Biden, you would probably see different vote totals. So that is why, while it's still possible that Trump wins, it would not be by a wide margin. And it's still possible that Biden wins, but if he wins, it's going to be by a wider margin. So we need to look at demographics. We need to understand what we're doing here. And that's why I always tell Republicans, run up the score among poor people. Whether they're out in the trailer park or in the hood, run up the score among these people. You're going to need them going into the election because the suburbs, I believe, are forever lost to Democrats. Anyway, those are just my opinions. Let me know what you guys think. Have a wonderful day.